Hello, everyone. Hello, Miss Lovecraft. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. I got to turn you up a little bit though. You're a little quiet. Hold on. Okay.
You mean you didn't crank up our countdown music full to
Oh,
full volume, Sarah?
oh no, I didn't. I should have, but I didn't. I have a new iPad, so all of this, it's a learning experience here. So yeah, my
That's how I
apologies.
feel at every moment throughout every day. The learning moment. Welcome, everyone. It's so good to see so many familiar faces. Wave hello in the comments if you're here. I hope everyone's just having a lovely Saturday today. It's nice and calm and not too crazy hot right now in the Bay Area. Um, I just got back from New York I got back like really late Thursday after my flight was delayed, and
Oh, that's the worst.
I'm just so thankful that flight took off. They said those engine starts weren't working, and I said that sounds bad.
Oh no. I'd be like, excuse me, I'm gonna need another plane, please.
I'd like to order a new plane, thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was telling folks on the live stream yesterday. First off, we somehow did a 2 hour live sale stream yesterday. I forgot that I like jet lag is a thing. It hit hard. They basically came on the intercom about an hour later, and they said, "All right, the mechanics checked it out. They turned off the electrical. They turned it back on, and it's looking good. I am pleased." And I said, "Okay, so you turned it off and on."
That works with computers. I didn't realize it worked with airplanes.
Right. Like, but I'm here, and it's time to bead with Sara Lovecraft. So,
Thank goodness for that. I would
how
have
are
been
you
I would
doing
have been
this
like
week?
renting a car. I don't think I could have made my way back on that plane. Ooh, that's stressful. Flying can be so stressful.
Yeah, I try to ignore those feelings because I have too many of them, so it doesn't accomplish anything.
Oh
I
gosh.
don't like landing. I can't do landing
Yeah.
because ever since a flight into SFO flipped over when
Oh
it was
yeah.
landing, I've been terrified that my plane's gonna flip over when it lands.
Yeah.
So, uh, if you sit next to me, you are my emotional support person. So, anywho, um, today Sarah and I are making Sarah's what we have named them the Clover earrings. And they're so pretty. Sarah will show them in a second, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
they are so pretty, and I'm so excited to learn how to make them, and learn a new wire technique. I know some folks in your group probably know this design,
Yeah.
so I'm excited to see if you already know the design, what you come up with, like already having known it. Like how
Yeah.
you like to see. I'm curious to see what sort of variants we'll see from of the design because it seems so versatile.
It is, and that's what makes it one of my favorites. I was so glad when you picked this one out because I love when I can show you a technique and then you can do 10 other things with it. That really excites me. So I'm excited for everybody to get to see this one. And if you've seen it before, maybe you forgot about it. It's a good one. It's easy, but that makes it so much more fun because if it's an easy component that you can use over and over again, then you're going to gravitate towards that and find ways to incorporate it into your jewelry making. So that's what it's all about.
Heck yeah. I feel like that's what jewelry making kind of is you learn tiny techniques like one at a time over like a long period of time.
Yeah.
And then your design style basically is the result of everything that's in your arsenal that you can do.
Yep. Yeah. And I love that. I love that. Every once in a while, of course, my hardwired group, we do a little bit of like harder projects, but for the most part, for my big group, I like to keep the projects and the techniques easy, because I feel like if I give you something that's too hard and it frustrates you, you won't come back to it unless you're just really passionate about it. So if I can give you little bite-sized pieces of techniques that you can take and run with, that's really exciting. And everybody comes up with, like you said, a variation of it that it's like for you seeing people use your beads. It's the same thing for me seeing people use like something that I taught in a class. It's just makes you feel really good. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what everybody does with this one.
Do you ever get inspired seeing the designs that come from your designs?
I do.
Like the evolution, like here's the original design and then here's 10 different takes on it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's an interesting idea to just turn it that way or make that adjustment.
Yeah.
And then it's a new design.
So exciting. I love that. Because it's like everybody's doing the thinking for me. It's really cool because it means that I'm not just teaching, I'm learning. And that's such a big deal to me. Like, I don't ever want to stop learning, especially when it comes to jewelry making. I want to learn as much as I can. So if you can show me something that I've never seen before, that like check the box off for the day. I want to learn something new every day. So to take something that I've already done and turn it on its head, that's awesome. That's so satisfactory. It feels so good.
Heck yeah. Oh, totally.
Rachel says, inspiration inception. I love that.
Totally. 100%. We've got lots of folks in the comments today. Yeah. Stay chatty today, folks. We are going to chill for the next hour. We're going to dive right in. And we have the supply list posted like with the stream here. So, but Sarah will, I'm sure, also go through it. Nothing too complicated today.
Yep. Nope. Nothing too hard and doesn't take a lot of supplies. So I'm going to go ahead and turn you guys around and we will get started. All right. So front and center here is our design. So you can see where we're headed. So we are going to make our little components here. And there are 2 of the components and they're just attached with some jump rings. So again, nothing really hard here, but I feel like it is, even though it's a simple technique, rather, sometimes people tend to overcomplicate this. And so I'm going to walk you through it step by step when it comes to making the little 3-leaf clover here. And we can even talk about making the 4-leaf version of it as well, because it is so easy. I don't know how you guys are, but a lot of times I will take something that's easy and try to make it too hard. So that can be something that happens with this little technique. So I'm going to show you how to do that. You're going to need your large bell making pliers for this, or if you have the stepped bell making pliers, those are my absolute favorite, but I grabbed these because they were the closest, and this is actually what I used in the original, so I figured I would stick with this. But basically what you're going to want, if you don't have this or the stepped bell making pliers, is you're going to want to try to find a mandrel that is, let's see, this one is 8 millimeters. So it's going to make about a 9 millimeter loop. And this one is going to make about a 6 millimeter loop. So if you've got something that's close to that, even if you don't have the tool, you can still accomplish this. As far as our beads, we're using these daggers and these are in the shop. So Sam's got these, and I don't know, some of you may remember these were in, was it the May box, Sam?
Oh gosh. So that's Sunburst. So Sunburst was May. Yeah.
So if you've got some daggers, I saw you had daggers in the show last night, didn't you?
Yeah, we had the new vintage daggers.
They were yummy.
Than those, but there's no reason we couldn't make it work.
And then just something small. Sam's got those the check glass by the pound. Oh my gosh, which I have to like stop myself from buying like 50 pounds of.
Beads by the pound are the best type of beads.
I know. And so these guys, I'm sure you could find something similar. These are just little check glass rounds. I'm using 3 millimeters. Anything small that you've got. Some of the little the micro faceted gemstones in Sam's shop would look amazing in this design. So you can really use whatever you want, but I do tend to keep it on the small side. Anything under 4 millimeters is going to do and work really well with your daggers.
Oh, nice.
All right. So For the component, we're going to use 2 pieces of 16 gauge wire, and I am using it's like let's see, I think I said an 8-inch piece. Is that what I said? I can't remember. No. A 5 to 6 inch piece is going to be plenty. And then about a 3-inch piece for your smaller component. Doesn't take a lot, but you want to be sure that you've got enough of this to hold on to. Otherwise, it hurts your fingers. So just make sure you cut yourself enough. All right. So to get started with the component, we're going to use the large mandrel of the large bell making pliers. Okay, so we're going to use the largest to start with. And we want to place our wire in the tool just right there between the barrels. Okay, and we want to create that P shape. So you're just going to roll until you create just a closed loop. And we don't want to break the neck on it. We want to keep it looking just like it is. So it's either a backwards P shape or a P shape, whichever. We don't want to center up the wire at all. You want to leave it just like that. Now we're going to turn it this direction so that the wire is running straight out. Okay, and you're looking at it from this direction, because now when we put it back onto the tool, I'm gonna have to raise you up just a little bit so I've got a little bit more arm room here. Okay, so when you put this back into the pliers, your P shape is sitting right up against the tool. Okay, there's no daylight between the two there. You want that to be sitting right up against the mandrel of the pliers, and then you can either turn the tool or turn the wire, but you want to make another loop right next to the one that you just made. So you're just making a neighbor for that loop. Okay, so now what you've got looks more like a little B shape. You want that wire to be running between the two. So in other words, when you are turning your wire, you don't want to just keep turning so that your wire is at an angle. You really want it to be straight through the center. I kind of misshaped this one a little bit. We may have to use another piece of wire, but it's pretty close. So you started here with this loop, and then you made a loop directly next to it instead of making a figure 8, because I feel like a lot of times people look at the component and they think figure 8 is the way to go, right? And it is kind of, because there is a figure 8 in here, but you don't want to start with that figure 8 shape. What you want to start with is that B. So you're making your first loop, and then you're making a neighbor to that loop. Okay. So now if we're looking at it this way, if we wanted to make a 4-leaf clover, we would continue in this neighbor pattern. So we've made a loop here, we've made a neighbor. Now our next loop would be a neighbor to the last one. And if we did a 4th loop, it would be a neighbor to the 3rd one. So that kind of helps you to figure out where to place your tool with this. So now when I go to place the tool, my B shape is right up against the side of the tool, and we're going to use the pliers to make that neighbor right next to the last loop that we made. And again, you want that wire to be running straight through. So you just made another B, right? And this is all the wire that we had left, which was plenty to hold on to. Okay. So now when you look at it, you have your component, and you can use it either direction. Okay, so you just want to be sure that you're working in the quadrants, right? You're making one in each quadrant if you divide it into 4. And that makes it a little bit easier than trying to figure it out from this direction. If you look at it this way, it breaks it down a little bit easier. Now, like I said, I know it's an easy component to make, but people do tend to overcomplicate this one. So looking at it that way, it's a little bit easier to break it down. So now I'm just
complicating, Sarah. I don't know what you're talking about. I think all of our work tables are pristine and perfect, and we have nothing to hide.
Right? So I'm going to come in with my cutter tool, and I want to cut, but I want to cut right where all those wires are coming together. Okay, so don't overcut or undercut that. You want it to be as as seamless looking as possible. Okay. And it should look pretty much the same either way you look at it. Okay. Now we're going to repeat that, but we're going to do that with a small mandrel here, and we're going to do it with our smaller piece of wire so that you get to see this a second time. So you're just going to treat this one the same way. We're going to start with our wire between the mandrel of the pliers, and we're going to turn a loop this time with the small portion of the tool. Okay. And again, we're going to come in and we want to put that into the tool so it's right up against the tool. It's touching, and turn another loop. Okay. And stop when your wire is going straight through the two of those. So you got that perfect little B shape. Don't look at it this way. Look at it this way, at least for now. So we've made one, we've made two, and now we want to make a neighbor in that third quadrant. So we are going to grab with our last loop sitting right up against the pliers. And again, turn to create that last loop. Okay, and then we want to cut.
So, Vicky, your comment just cracked me up. I gotta pull up Vicky's comment.
I see that.
It's so easy. Mine looks like a clover that was stepped on.
Oh, Vicky, you're awesome. Oh my goodness. All right, trim off. And we have our two components. So yeah, that's, I try to break it down because it is easy, but like Vicky, she probably overcomplicated it because we want to see that figure 8 that's in there. And when we go to the wire with our tool, for whatever reason, a lot of us, our brain wants to create that figure 8 because that's the first noticeable shape that you see. But if you start out making the figure 8, you're not going to get it all even. That's why you kind of have to look at it in a square instead of in this like little trefoil that you've got here. So, all right. Now I'm going to take these, I'm going to put these on a steel block and I'm going to work harden them just a little bit. Now we're using 16 gauge wire, so it's pretty sturdy. So it doesn't need a lot of work hardening. In fact, I caution that you don't work harden it to the point of flattening it. You can see how the wires are kind of crossing each other. It's not going to lay flat no matter what you do. So don't try to. If you do try to flatten it, you're actually going to distort your shape. So we're going to put it on the block. I'm going to use my nylon hammer and I'm just going to tap at it a little bit. I'm going to turn it over and do the back as well. All right, so now that one is work hardened and I'm going to do the small one. Whoops. Okay, so it just takes a little bit, not a lot. You just want to double ensure that it's going to keep that shape for you. So when we go to put this together, we're going to attach it just like this with some jump rings. We're obviously going to add some beads to this, but I want to talk about the component itself for just a second, because like Sam said, when we very first got started, this little component, this technique can be used in so many different ways. So this is what it'll look like when we attach the jump rings to it. So even just looking at this, right, without adding our beads and our ear wire to it, turn it to the side and you can already kind of see some fun things that are happening. So you could create an entire beaded chain if you wanted to out of these little components. You could make a bracelet out of that. You could do your own like entire length of a necklace if you wanted to. There are so many options. There are places where you can add beads. You can wire wrap beads to the center of each one of your hoops if you want to. You can even have a dangle here in the center. You can turn it either direction, have your large piece on the top and your small piece on the bottom. So many different things. And then of course you can use this component individually as well. So for instance, let me just show you real quick. If we weren't going to make earrings out of this and we wanted to make a decorative head pin, we can actually do this technique with a thinner gauged wire, right? Make our loop. Okay, make our second loop for its neighbor. And then make our third loop right next to it. Now my wire is going to end up being a little short, but if you wanted to, you could come in with your pliers, don't cut your wire off, and just give that a bend, right? Straight up and down, and pop a bead on that, and you've got a decorative head pin. And then you can do a simple loop or whatever you want to. So this little component can be used in so many different ways.
I love the head pin idea, Sarah.
Yeah, it's really, really pretty. And you can even do it with the two. If you needed something where you just needed two loops, or if you needed a connector and you didn't have one, this little technique is going to get you, it's going to solve a lot of problems, I guess, when it comes to jewelry making. If you're missing things, you can always come to this guy and figure out a way to use this. You can use it as a 3-strand connector for a necklace. If you've got 3 strands, you can use it as a 2-strand connector, right? So a lot of different things you can do with this. And it's just that one little technique. That's what makes it so magical. At least to me, that's what makes it magical.
Oh, I think it's magical.
All right. So
it may be a little lucky. Although we're not doing a 4-leaf clover, they're still a little lucky.
Exactly. I think so for sure. So we are going to add beads to ours. I'm not going to attach them with jump rings yet. We're going to do the beading with the wire first. I just find that it's a little bit easier to do it that way. So you're going to need a piece of 24 gauge wire for this, or 26. It's whatever you have on hand. I do find that the 24 is about the right size. So if you want to go to 22, just know that you may crowd things out, okay? Because your component's only so big. So I've cut about a 5 or 6 inch piece of 24 gauge wire, and I need to anchor it to my component. And I want my wire wraps to be towards the inside. Let me show you on the finished one what I mean. So you can see how, let me grab my pliers to point with, it's better than my fingers. So you can see how my wire wraps are here. They're towards the inside of my beads. So to the inside of the component instead of on the outer side, right? That's going to be really important, not necessarily with our first row of beads, but it is important with our second row of beads because it's going to help with the placement of those beads. So I'm going to lay this into the loop with about a 1-inch tail, something like that. And just going to bend that over the wire. And then I'm going to kind of turn things around in my hand just to hold it where it's most comfortable. You don't have to hold that component in the direction that it goes to do your wire wrapping. Do whatever is comfortable. And I'm going to wire wrap this about 3 or 4 times just to anchor to our component. And because we're weaving in and out of this circle section, use your pliers if you need to. There's no shame in that. That's what your tools are for. I feel like a lot of people try to just use their fingers for everything, and that's great, but you know, sometimes pliers.
We were chatting about double wrap loops in the past because I really like using my hands for double wrap loops.
Yeah.
I can't remember what you were doing. Do you remember if you use your hands for a double wrap loop?
It kind of depends. It depends on the circumstances. I like to use my fingers because it's like winding up a pitch for if you're going to pitch a baseball. I don't know. But it really kind of just depends. Like, how much wire do I have to hold on to? If I don't have a whole lot of wire to hold on to, then I definitely use the pliers because it's much easier than getting my big fingers in there. So, yeah. All right. So I've got my wire anchored to my component, and you can see those are towards the inside. So now my wire is actually seated far enough.
It's somewhere.
Yeah, it's out there somewhere. Far enough from our component to place the beads without there being any crowding. So that's why those wraps need to be right there, right? We've got enough room here for our beads. So we're going to thread on our little 3mm check glass rounds. And I believe we thread on 8 of these. Let me double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes. So we're going to thread on 8 3mm check glass rounds, or whatever little beads you're going to be using. But if it's the check glass rounds, 8 is going to be the right amount. 2, 7. We need one more. Okay. Now, we're going to guide those beads around the rounded part of our component because they're not going to naturally do that. We have to coax it into the shape that we want. Bring that around, and we want to wire wrap. Now, this is where it's not necessarily that it's tricky. It's just that you're working in a small place because, again, we want those wire wraps to be towards the inside. So it's easier to wrap on the outer edge, but we want it to match the other side. So we need to wiggle those wire wraps in between our beads, right? So go ahead and hook that wire on there. And then if you can sneak it, let's see, between the beads. To do your wire wrap. So once you get one, you can kind of let go. You're good to go. Okay. So there's 3. I'm going to go through the loop here one more time just to bring this to the back of the component. And then I'm going to come in with my cutter tool and trim off as close as I can. And if you need to pinch that down with your pliers, do so. Just make sure that you run your finger across it and there's not any wire sticking up. All right, so we have our first row of beads. Now, before we move on, I want to point out one more thing about this component. So we've done it's for an earring. This is kind of a big component. However, you can go even bigger with this and use even larger mandrels. And if you do that and you wanted to turn this into a pendant, you could do more than 2 rows of beads. We only have enough room to do 2 rows of beads on the outside of ours. But imagine if you had a larger component, you could do several of these rows of beads, each one a little bit more, maybe bigger. You could go bigger with your beads if you wanted to, and it would make a really beautiful pendant for a necklace. So lots of ideas with this one. All right, we're going to anchor another piece of wire. So another piece of our 24 gauge wire. And again, I want to attach this the same way that we did before. So I'm sticking my wire through the component, giving myself about 1 inch. And again, I want those wire wraps to go towards the component, right? So they're not on the outside of my working end. They're towards the inside because that's going to help so that our beads are not sitting right up on top of each other. It'll be placed just right.
Yeah, so you're creating your second buffer.
Exactly.
Essentially, like your second coil that makes that separates the beads. That makes a lot of sense.
And it'll work if you do your wire wraps the other way, but I do find that it gets a little crowded. So use your wire wraps to your advantage and let them do all the measuring for you. Okay, so we've got about 3 wire wraps here. I'm going to trim off. And then I'm going to slide that down so it slides right into place next to the wire wraps that are already there. If you need to pinch those together with your pliers, you can do that. Okay. All right. So now we're going to thread on 2 of the little check glass beads. And then we're going to thread on these daggers, and we're going to alternate the daggers. You're going to use 6 daggers, and we're going to alternate a dagger and a check glass bead. And don't try to shape your wire while you're doing this. Hold it all out straight while you're going. Don't make things harder for yourself. I know a lot of people want to kind of do it all at the same time. It's much easier on you, and you use less sentence enhancers. Sam, that's what we call our curse words over in my group, is our sentence enhancers, and we use lots of those. But you use less sentence enhancers if you work smarter, not harder.
I could swear that those are 4mm check glass rounds.
They're 3.
Are they really 3? My instincts usually have such good, even like over camera, I could usually tell.
They're 3s.
Cute.
Wait, that is a 3, right? 1, 2, 3. No.
Yeah. No, it's a 3. You're reading it right.
Okay. It's like, oh no. Don't argue with Sam. He knows about beads.
Oh my gosh. One time a customer sent me a photo of a caliper on a bead, and they read the wrong part of the caliper.
Yeah.
So they're like, Sam, I ordered 8mm, but this says 6. And I'm like, no, you have to look at the first line. It's not like the edge there. It's the first line.
Yeah.
That's the number. And it says 8. And they're like, no, it definitely says 6. I'm like, no. It says 8, like 100%. I promise. I can see it. And then I found this diagram of like, here's literally how to read the manual caliper. I don't use a manual caliper for almost that reason.
Right.
Because I don't want to have to think about it. So
exactly.
The digital ones are like $20.
Yeah.
And they're fast, and you can get decimals. So that's what I use for making listings for this site.
Oh yeah. It does all the work for you. I've got one. I just don't ever use. I got it for Christmas and I never grabbed for it. I should start using it because it is so much more precise. All right. So we've added all of our beads. And again,
I already like where this is going.
We're going to curve around again and bring the wire right on up here. Okay. And you might have to coax it a little bit. It's wire. Make it do what you want it to do. Make that shape that you want. So we should have, let's see, 3. We should have 6 of the daggers and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the check glass beads. If that's what you're using. If you're using something different, you're obviously going to have probably different measurements and how many of everything. But if you're going to use the 3mm rounds, this is the way to go. Now, again, we want to wrap towards the inside. So it can be a little tricky because we're going to be wrapping between these 2 rows of beads. So just go slow. Kind of guide your wire between there. And pull it tight so that you don't have any, you can see how mine, see that little extra wire? That little extra sneaks in on you. So if you'll pull your pliers in there and kind of reposition. I don't want all that extra wire. I want it to be, basically, I want the bead to be as close to the component as I can get it. Okay, so just tucking the wire through, and I'm going to tuck it through one more time so that I've got 3 good wraps. And again, going through the loop here, and I'm going to bring it to the back. And then I'm going to trim it off. Make sure you tuck any wire that's sticking out, and then come here to the front and look at it. And again, you may need to kind of coax the wire into that arch shape. But once you get it where you want it, it'll probably just, not probably, it will. It will stay in that shape. I mean, unless you come and like pull on your daggers really hard or anything, but I don't think anybody's going to do that.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going anywhere.
No, it's definitely not. And if you've got your wire wraps, 3 good wire wraps is really going to hold everything in place. So I think anything less than 3, you might kind of risk it, you know, if you were to get them pulled on by somebody. I know a lot of us are not me so far, not yet, knock on wood, don't have any grand babies. Oh my gosh, I hope that doesn't happen anytime soon. But if you've got little ones in your life and they pull, that's why I always say 3 wraps is toddler approved. So, all right. I don't have any of those as far as I know. So if I do, I've got a problem. All right. So now we're going to attach our little components together, and it's super easy. We're just going to use a couple of jump rings for that, and then we're going to use a couple more jump rings to add our ear wire to this. So we are almost finished. I've got 2 4mm jump rings and my 4mm are more like 3mm, but same thing. It will work, whatever you've got. But I'm using this 6mm between the 2 components. So I'm going to hook this loop to the other loop of the other component, but it's not facing the same direction. They're facing opposite each other. So I'm going to attach those. And then one more. Being a grand is grand, says Patty. It's going to be one of these days, but my oldest is only 19, so he had better not. I'm not ready for all that.
Maybe more likely one of your youngins will get, as if they're that much younger than me, will get a dog, and then you can be a dog grandma, yes. A dog mama.
Yeah. I'm much more ready for that.
And then they can come hang out with your dogs.
Exactly. Yep. That I can get behind. All right, so I'm doing 2 of these, and the reason that I'm doing 2 of these is because the loop on my ear wire is facing this direction, so it's facing away from me. I need a go-between jump ring here so that everything hangs the right direction. So I get asked that question a lot. Why all the jump rings? You've got to have that go-between jump ring so that everything hangs the direction you want it to.
Right.
All right, and that's it. Oh, you have
one. They're so elegant.
Aren't they pretty? I love this design, and it doesn't matter what beads you use. It always comes out looking really awesome. And I love the daggers because it's like a little bit rock and roll. You know, you've just kind of got that little edge to it that is, I'm all about that. So I love the colors, the daggers, so beautiful. And I used gold this time, whereas when we did this project in my group, we did it with the silver. So changing up the metal color makes a big difference as well. But they're beautiful either way. This would even look really good in copper.
That's what I'm I'm looking at the clock and I was like, I think I have some time today. Time to grab some copper wire for this one.
Oh yeah. That would be really pretty. All right, I'm going to turn you around so we can put them on.
The big reveal.
Yeah. All right. Turn everybody around. Okay. They're even prettier on, I think. Look how pretty.
Wow.
You have to like big earrings. You can make this smaller, guys. If you are not into big earrings, you can definitely size this down. In fact, if you have the small bell making pliers, you could use the small bell making pliers and make the exact same pair of earrings, just smaller if this is too big. But I think they're super, super fabulous.
I think they're great. Those are like a pair of earrings that if you're walking down the street, you would get a lot of compliments on.
Yeah.
Like, where did you get this? We're like, these are handmade. They are, and here's where you can buy them.
Yep. It's funny because I already sold the first pair. When you were like, let's do this one, I was like, ooh, that means another pair I can put in the shop, because they sold immediately. As soon as I put them in my shop, somebody bought them. So I know somebody will buy the gold ones too.
They're so great. So with this, I'm so curious, have you used this component yourself in other designs other than the earrings?
Other than the earrings, yeah, I have, not necessarily in an earring design, but as I was mentioning, like the to use it as a component to hang multi-strand designs,
Mm-hmm.
I love to be able to use whatever color wire. That's why I'm so drawn to making my own components, is because you can customize the wire color to your design.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you buy a pre-made component, they can be beautiful, but sometimes they don't match all of your other findings. So to be able to make your own component, then it matches. You can make your own jump rings to match it, or, you know, whatever else you've got. And to do like a multi-strand design is really cool. They are fun for like those chain bracelets that goes to your finger, to your wrist. This is a really cool component for that, for the middle of that.
I could see that.
Yeah, lots of cool things you can do with this guy.
That's great. God, what else is on your bead mind this week, Sarah?
Well, actually, I'm taking the week off.
No way.
I know. This is the first break I've given myself since Christmas. So I've not taken any time off since Christmas at all. And it was hard to convince myself to take the time off.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need to say hello? You're being awfully loud.
Yes.
Let's see if I can angle it down here. Albert.
Y'all know I'm a dog person.
Come here, say hi. Come on. I'm gonna knock everything over to be apart. But yeah, so the heavy breathing, that's not anything fun going on. That's just my dog. He's just he's a mouth breather.
He's a lover.
He is. But yeah, so I'm taking a whole week off this week. I will be in and out of social media because I just can't stay away. And I need to be sure that, you know, if there are any questions or if anybody's looking for me for something, I'll be around for that. But as far as my Facebook Lives, taking the whole week off. Nobody will see me again until I'm with you again on Saturday. So
wow.
You're the exception to the rule.
Oh my God, it feels so special.
So yeah, I've got a little bit of time on my hands. My niece is in town, and I'm going to spend some time with the kids. We're going to go to the pool. We might go to Dollywood. I don't know what we're going to do, but I'm going to take some time.
Dollywood and tell me everything about it. Are you far from Dollywood?
No, it's about 45 minutes away, so it's pretty close. And sometimes we get season passes. We haven't this year, but I don't know. It's been a while since I've been, so it's a lot of walking. It's fun, but it's a lot of uphill walking.
What is like the main things you do in Dollywood?
Roller coasters.
Okay.
And every year I go and ride roller coasters and I say, I am too old for this. I'm not doing this ever again. And I still do it every summer.
Yeah, I'm curious if there'd be enough for me to do as someone who can't handle a roller coaster.
Yeah.
But I've been listening like to Dolly. Have you heard the podcast Dolly Parton's America?
No.
It's so good. It's not her podcast, but they do interview her for it. And it is such beautiful storytelling about her life. And like, it's like basically like a short podcast series.
Yeah.
So good.
That's awesome. I'll have to look that up. I love podcasts, so I'll have to look that up. Kathy said, eat. That's the other thing you do at Dollywood is eat. So you and I find that a lot of people only do one or the other because you if you get sick, you can't really do both. But there is so much good food. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think of one of my favorite things that Dollywood has. Funnel cake. But it's not just funnel cake. It's like funnel cake with all the toppings of like a ice cream sundae. Oh yeah. So good. So good.
Sarah, I'm still dying to do one of your weird food challenges with you.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
You just need to tell me what to buy and then I want to do it.
Yeah, I haven't done one in a while. I'll let you know the next time I'm ready. I'll send some snacks to you.
Oh my God. I'm curious, like, how weird do you get?
How weird do I get?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So I have eaten some pretty nasty things. My group can tell you. I think probably one of the grossest things I ate was the 100-year-old egg.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
What?
It was a duck egg, and it's not really 100 years old. It's just the way that they preserve it that
Mhm.
makes it like it really was preserved for 100 years. So the egg itself is like gelatinous and it's black, and it was real bad. It was real bad.
It sounds so bad.
It was really bad. So for everybody in the comments who doesn't know, I do snack shenanigans every once in a while. I haven't done one in a while where I get snacks from all over the world. I've eaten things from everywhere, and I eat them, and people watch me eat them, and it's usually hilarious because some of it I have to talk myself into, and people take screenshots of the faces that I make because I make the most hilarious faces when I eat something that's gross. It's so fun though. It's just something to laugh about, because I feel like this past year has been so serious. So I started doing the snack shenanigans in there to kind of break up the monotony and just give somebody, something funny to watch, and they could live vicariously through me. I'll eat something gross so that they don't have to.
Right. You are one brave person, Sarah. But I'm kind of intrigued. I don't feel like I eat any weird foods. I feel very normal with my vegetables and chicken. So
I don't eat weird things on a regular basis, I don't think. It's definitely just for the snack shenanigans. Like, you would never just catch me eating like a clam flavored candy cane. That's not in my regular diet. That's
right.
And again, was one of the grossest things I think I've ever eaten. So it was nasty.
It's like, oh, how can we ruin a candy cane? Oh, shellfish. Why?
So somebody like me could eat it and make people laugh.
Just like that's like one of the best Christmas candies. How can you ruin it? Oh my gosh. Well, I am so inspired. I want to run to the office because this is so cool, and go get my beads. So thank you for joining us today. That was such always a pleasure to hang with you and bead with you.
It's fun.
If folks make this design, you can share to Sam's Bead Shop's Gem Chat group. And of course, Sarah has the Sara Lovecraft Designs community.
Yep.
I got it. So share in both places, tag us, show us what you come up with. It's always so fun to see. Because we only get to see you in the comments, and then in the group, we actually get to see your creativity blossom. So please share away.
Absolutely.
If sharing is something you'd like to do. So I hope to see you all in the groups. Yep. And I will see Sarah. Sarah's going to join us for 2 more weeks. We had last week, this week, and we have 2 more weeks of the amazing Sarah.
I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. I have no idea what we're making next, but that's part of the fun. So.
And if people have requests, send them now, because we're about to pick the next project.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but with that, we're going to hop off and enjoy our Saturdays, and we hope you enjoy your Saturdays. And it's only 3:49 here, so I still feel like I have a good amount of day ahead of me. But it's probably dinner time for you.
It is. I got to go find something to eat, and then I think I'm going to call it a day. I had my Michael's class earlier. I've had a class with you. I've been in my office most of the day. So it's time for me to officially start my vacation.
Well, let's all send off Sarah into her vacation with one giant. These are the waves that we're going to...
The calming waves of vacation.
Calming waves of vacation.
Staycation. It's definitely a staycation, but...
Well, enjoy you said the pool?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, have a blast. And
I will. Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you for having me. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It was so fun.
And I will see you, and I'll see everyone next week.
Sounds good. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.